Hi everyone, welcome to the third video series of Nimzovich Defense with Archess. And today we're going to be looking at the possibility of white declining on capturing the pawn on d5 after the series of moves e4, knight c6. We've seen this in our last two videos. And now after d5, we talked about how we would love if white captures the pawn on d5. So instead, we were talking about how white can play the move e5 to not give black what he wants to get out of the opening, right? So white is trying to deny black's fun, and he doesn't want to open up the position. So after e5, how are we going to continue? Is it going to be a dry and boring opening? Absolutely not. So how are we going to continue? Well, it's simple. Just follow the principles of chess, develop your pieces quickly. For which piece of ours should we develop here? Of course, the bishop to f5. And after bishop f5, white can play knight f3. Well, not can, but there are a lot of possibilities. Not must, but you know, it's a normal looking developing move. And now we're going to play e6. Of course, before playing e6, we would absolutely have to play bishop f5 first, because if we play e6 immediately, then our bishop on c8 gets stuck there for a long time. A very, very bad bishop. But now it's good. So it's controlling a very long diagonal, h7 to b1 diagonal. Of course, white develops naturally with bishop e2. And our next step is to play queen d7. So this is the start of how you're going to remember what to do. Well, it's simple. We're going to try and get our king castled on the queen side. Remember, before we attack, we have to castle on the queen side. Oh, how are we going to attack? Well, okay, queen d7, preparing to castle. Of course, white's going to castle quickly too, so he can start attacking you on the queen side. You castle, but I wonder whose attack is going to be faster. Well, how are we even going to start out an attack here? It looks like it's going to be very hard because he has this pawn on e5. But don't worry, this is how we attack. White develops naturally. First with knight c3. That's how we're going to start out our attack. So we have to play the move h6 so we can start the pawn storm or pawn storming with g5. Very easy to remember. Develop your pieces, take out your bishop to f5, push the pawn to e6, queen on d7, castle quickly, then start the pawn storm. And after h6, of course, white's going to develop the last piece undeveloped in the position. And we start pawn storming. White tries to connect the rooks, following all the basic principles in chess. And this is a very important move to remember. So once again, the most important, or the very important move to remember is bishop e7. Why? Because when you're pawn storming and you're advancing your pawns, before playing g4, you have to watch out for a possible knight h4 here. And knight h4 stops and blocks your pawn, your h4 from advancing. Therefore, it will slow down your attack. Therefore, bishop e7 prevents that, and there's a second reason why. Because after bishop e7, now a3, he wants to start the pawn storming again. Not again, but as well. After this move, we can play the move g4. Okay, that's our idea. And after knight e1, oh, look at those two pawns just storming the front office of the white king. And he starts to storm back, but we don't really care very much because it's not that dangerous yet. And guess what? We're gonna get more of our pieces active by going f6. What is white going to do now after f6? Of course, he takes. If he goes f4, looks good and everything, but we can actually just go knight h6 here, so we can get the rook involved in the attack, and we can also control the f5 square. Possibly by putting the bishop on e4, followed by knight f5, gives black great attacking possibilities. Not possibilities, but attack pressure. White can also do bishop f4, but bishop f4 is not going to do much because black can easily produce pressure by taking and going d4. Oops, that pawn on e5 looks almost gone. And also at the same time the queen is pressuring or pointing towards the g2 pawn, which is always good. So even the worst possible move here is if white takes there. Look at that. Black has the space advantage. All pieces pointing towards the king side. Not all, but majority of them. Knight can easily jump to e4. Just an absolutely beauty for black. Now he counter attacks. We just move back to b8. So that's where we're gonna put the knight, because if you put the knight in a5 this time, the queen is pointing towards the a5 square. He has the possibilities of performing some sort of discoveries. Plays a4. All right, beautiful, beautiful attack for black. Oh, it looks like this is the only way to attack, because if he plays a6 here, how to deal with pawn storms? After a6, we can simply play the move b6. And white is probably very unhappy here, because it's going to be very hard for him to continue attacking, since he can't really open files for his rooks or create squares for his pieces. Okay, so b6 is the best chance for white, but we can easily kill the attack by taking. And look at that beautiful knight in b8. It's also protecting the a6 square in case white decides to sacrifice. And now, since white's attack is absolutely gone, black can concentrate his attack. And of course, how you're going to attack is not h3, similar to what we've seen before, but to play g3. And that, folks, is how we're going to deal with the move e5. So just a quick recap. Very simple way of remembering it. We're going to start from the very beginning. After your opponent goes e5, take out bishop on f5 first. Okay. After bishop f5, white goes knight f3. You can play e6. So you gotta take out bishop to f5 first, so when you play e6, the bishop won't be locked in. Therefore, would produce a bad bishop. So you go queen d7. After taking out bishop, you go queen d7, castle queenside. And now, after you're all castled, you are prepared to attack on the king side. And a very important move. You must remember that before playing g4, you should play bishop e7. White tries to counterattack. f6 is a very nice move. Get your knight or your last minor piece inactive active. Expand, storm the front office of the white king. Now after b6, because after a6 we can just remove the attack by going b6. And if he goes b6, we remove the attack by capturing. In fact, maybe a6 is even better here, but I don't really want to give him the b6 square in the future. And after a6, you can focus in your attack. White has very little chance of succeeding with his attack, while black is safe and nicely safe and secure. Thanks for tuning in on the third video of art chess on the Nimzovich. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.